Olive and Prue had been the best of friends since they were babies.
They weren't twins or even sisters, but their mothers were neighbors who'd put the girls in one basket, just like a pair of kittens. As they grew, the girls remained inseparable, running around their village like a pair of cats seeking food and adventure. A stranger in town might wonder about the odd pair, because Olive was a little lady with neatly braided hair and clean stockings, while Prue was a ragtag patchamuffin with messy locks and sagging socks. But the villagers knew better, and often said, "Ah, there go Olive and Prue," until Olive and Prue became a single word in their collective minds.
That all ended one summer when the family of a nearby mansion took Olive as a companion for their lonesome son.
"I'll miss you so much," Prue moaned. "Don't be ridiculous," Olive said, who was excited to live in a mansion. "I'll write every day and be back before you know it, and when I return we shall sneak into the saloon and drink gin, just like you always wanted to." "Promise," Prue asked, "to write?" Olive nodded solemnly before leaving Prue and traveling in a carriage with red velvet cushions along the road to the sea. Half an hour later she arrived at a mansion that took her breath away. It was like a castle, and she would be like a princess. She was shown into a bedroom that was larger than her whole family's house. It had pink sheets and lampshades of colored glass.
"This is where I belong," Olive said. "I'll find a way to stay here forever."
The next morning, after a delicious breakfast, she met her new friend, the son of the house.
Olive tried to like Neville, she really did, but he didn't want to do anything.
He didn't want to walk down to the seashore or read books or play with his toys. He didn't want to pretend at Knights and Dragons. He didn't even want to sneak down to the kitchen at midnight to steal strawberry tarts.
He was just so boring.
In a matter of days, they went their separate ways in the mansion, and it became Olive's mission to enjoy herself while also becoming mostly forgotten so she wouldn't be sent home.
"This is my home now," she wrote to Prue, not realizing how that broke her best friend's tender heart. She only wrote her 3 more times. There were just too many wonderful distractions in the mansion.
Olive went down to the shore to gather seashells, pretend to be a mermaid, and gaze at the old white lighthouse and the beautiful ocean. She spent weeks in the huge library, reading all sorts of books and making up stories and songs about the other lands painted on the large globe in the corner. And the toys! Neville had so many toys that he neglected. Rocking horses and dolls and little castles and blocks and teddy bears. Olive gave them all names, even each block. Also, there were many lovely rooms and objects in the house. An empty ballroom with 6 glittering chandeliers, a table covered with pretty hand fans, soft carpets, a grandfather clock, a grand staircase, even a secret passageway from the library up to one of the large balconies with a view of the sea.
"What's wrong with Neville?" she said. "If he doesn't appreciate this, he is a fool." What Olive didn't realize is that she was also a fool, not to appreciate such a true and devoted friend as Prue. Perhaps one day she might have realized her great mistake. Perhaps on that day she might have run all the way to the village to beg for Prue's forgiveness, but Olive would never have that chance. As she skipped across the balcony, singing songs about fairies, she was mysteriously run through with an awl that fell from the sky. The end. Prue was determined to hate her ex-best friend forever.
Olive had abandoned her, taking a job at a mansion, and leaving Prue with no other friends and nothing to do but chores.
The villagers had once called them Olive and Prue, as if you couldn't say one name without the other, like salt and pepper or bread and butter. But since Olive had left, Prue had become poor Prue all alone, which she detested.
She'd even attempted to spend time with her weird brother Quentin, but all he wanted to do was chase butterflies with a net and write notes about them in the window nook he called his library. Prue was a loyal child. When bullies pushed Quentin into the mud or called him Butterfly Boy, she would punch them in the face. But he was a butterfly boy, and he wasn't good company. Oh, why had Olive stopped writing? No, Prue thought. I'm determined to hate her.
But it wasn't in Prue's nature to hate her best friend, so she missed her instead and continued to write until she received the horrible news that Olive was dead. She had succumbed to a fatal fever.
Prue was inconsolable for months. She didn't even attend the funeral, which she heard was lovely. Olive was buried in a white coffin draped with pink roses, all kindly paid for by the lord and lady of the mansion. Finally, Prue went to Olive's grave to cry and talk to her. During this one-sided conversation, she remembered Olive's last words to her. I'll write every day and be back before you know it, and when I return, we shall sneak into the saloon to drink gin, just like you always wanted to.
Well, Olive hadn't written every day, but Prue could still sneak into the saloon and drink a glass of gin to honor her lost friend. She would just have to lie to Mother. Ma was against demon alcohol. She'd been a member of the Staunch Sisters of Temperance Society since Dad had gotten drunk, fallen into a rain puddle, and drowned.
But Dad had always smiled more than Ma ever did. Perhaps there was something to a nip of gin every now and then, as long as it wasn't raining.
And it wasn't raining tonight.
Prue kissed the name carved on Olive's gravestone and went home to help cook dinner. After that, she helped Ma sew blue and white banners for the Staunch Sisters of Temperance. Then an hour before bedtime, as Quentin snored into a book about insects, Prue climbed out the window. She tiptoed through the dark village streets until she reached a bar called the Glorious Nosebleed. There was an unruly crowd inside tonight. Prue heard shouting and curse words through the door, but she couldn't see anything. She was too short to peer through the window in the door's top half, which had Saloon Bar painted on it.
Her father had walked through this door on the night he died. A chill ran down Prue's spine. Maybe she should go back home. Maybe gin was demon alcohol. Maybe a boisterous bar was a dangerous place for a small child. No, she said, lifting her chin. One drink for my best friend Olive. Determined, Prue reached up for the brass doorknob. 2 minutes later, she was dead, trampled flat in a brawl. She didn't have a white coffin with pink roses on it. She was buried in a pine box with a blue and white banner draped over her body, in a grave next to the grave of her best friend. It was Olive and Prue once more. The end. Oh no, Olive and Prue. Olive and Prue. But, at least they ended up back together, and that makes me happy. These, by the way, are potential props for the Zilla episode, the Halloween episode. And they also make pretty decent scratchers. Okay. Do you have a different idea about how both or either Olive or Prue died? Run through with it all. Why? What's that about? And flattened in a brawl. Flattened in a brawl. That wasn't a very good decision. Okay, tomorrow is Quentin. Q is for Quentin. This, remember, is Prue's brother who collects butterflies. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here so very much. And love ya. Bye-bye.